Hey guys, Dr. Moore here. Coming to you from Central Florida where the weather's really nice today. We're actually in July, but it's a nice cool afternoon. A little overcast. Wanted to go for a little walk and ask you guys a question for today, and that is nursing the right program for you? And along with that, is nursing the right career for you? Now, what I'm not asking is nursing a good career? I'm not asking that. And the reason for that is because nursing is a great career. That answer is 100% yes. It's a fantastic career. But you got to remember this, just because it's a good career doesn't mean it's the right one for you. And that's the question. Is it right for you? You know, I remember my wife used to tell me, just because something's a good deal, like a car or whatever, doesn't mean it's right for you. You know, it's not about what's good for one person isn't necessarily good for another. That's what I'm saying. So that's the question for today is it right for you? Reason I'm asking that, and I'm asking that particularly for nursing, because I see so many students in my university that go for nursing. And believe me, the university I'm at, the majority of students walking in the door to admissions are coming in wanting to be nurses. They want to do the nursing program. They want to do ASN or they want to do BSN. You know, one or the other. You know, they're two different programs, and it really just depends on where you're at in your college journey, whether you're, which program is better for you. But they both ultimately let you graduate and take the NCLEX exam, which means you're going to be, if you pass it, you're going to be an RN. So they both work toward the same license. So the question is that right for you? We have tons of people doing this. And what I find is that students along the way, at varying places in their college journey, a lot of them decide they don't want to do it. Some of them get through the prereqs or halfway through the prereqs, they get into the sciences and they decide they don't want to do it. Some get into the program and they start going, sitting in the classes, they go into clinicals, and then they decide, this isn't right for me, I don't want to do it. And then the worst case scenario, and I've mentioned this before in a previous video, they get into the actual field, meaning they've graduated, they've gotten licensed, they've gotten a job, they've started to work in the field as an RN. And you got to remember, RNs, 9% are working in the hospital. That's where RNs work. Doesn't mean you can't work in a doctor's office, but majority of RNs work in the hospital. They decide they don't want to do it. And that's not everybody. But the question is it right for you? Now, I'll say a few things about this. You really have to want to do it. Now I'll give you a few scenarios. You've got the student that comes in out of high school. Everybody's told him or her, this is a great career, which is true. Again, you can make really good money with only roughly 2 years of college. We know it really takes a little bit more than that, but roughly 2 years of college. But they don't really want to do it. They're doing it because they were told it was a great career. Well, that person may find that they, in the end enjoy it, but they may also find that it's not really what they want to do. They're just doing it because it's a good paying career. And what happens a lot is that people that do it basically, in a nutshell, for money, aren't always going to be happy long term with the career. And that doesn't mean they can't piggyback or use the nursing program as a stepping stone and go into something else. And if you got your associates in nursing, you could always go get a bachelor's in something else. There's nurses that work in law offices. There's nurses that work in insurance companies, and review files, review cases. There's nurses that do a lot of different things. So, 90% are going to work in the hospital, but that other small percentage can do other things, and a lot of the nurses that get burned out in the hospital, they go back, get their bachelor's, get their master's, they could go on and be a nurse practitioner, which again does transition them more to the private practice, and they have a completely different scope of practice and a completely different schedule usually, and um, you know, definitely a different, workload at that point. It's not as strenuous. So, I see a lot of times these younger students, they just kind of do it because, again, it's a great career, but they don't always enjoy it in the end. Sometimes, I've even seen a student, I'll give you an example. I saw a student that really great at the sciences. This particular student was one of the best students I've seen at my particular university in the sciences. I mean, just super duper smart, hundreds in everything, and he loves science, and that's a cool thing. And I was thinking this student's going to do awesome in nursing. In fact, I remember talking with some of the nursing instructors and saying, man, you're getting an awesome student, a student that just, is a whiz with sciences. And talked to them at the beginning of the semester, and by the end of the semester, I was like, hey, how's so-and-so doing? And they said, he didn't make it in the program. And I was just like, what? And they just said, the program's not, it's science, but it's other things too. There's more to it than that. And it's not as black and white as, your biology and anatomy and physiology and things like that. And they actually said he just number one, he didn't like it. It wasn't really what he thought, and he just struggled with it. And he ended up, a combo of not doing well and then quitting is what basically happened. So again, and that might scare people, but the truth is that's a good thing. I've seen students that aren't real great at science. They get through the science courses and they excel in the nursing program. So you don't have to be good in science. It has to be your wiring. It has to be basically what your strengths are. And some people are really, really good with it. One of the people that I find typically do well with nursing are the ones that have been working in the field, maybe as an LPN or medical assistant, or just some sort of tech. And they've seen nurses at work. They've worked alongside nurses. They know firsthand what an RN does, and that's what they want to do. And on top of that, they're willing to work hard in college. They're willing to sacrifice to get through the program. And that type of person usually does well because they basically know exactly what the program's like. I'll give you another student. I talked to another example. I talked to a student not too long ago that was taking prereqs, ready for the program. Wanted nursing, didn't want anything else, and he decided, which was, again, this is a smart idea, he decided to get a job at the hospital, doing I forget they call it like a some sort of a patient care technician or something like that. That's what they call it, I think. And they're working alongside the nurse. They're doing the more basic skills that obviously don't require a license, but they're working alongside the RN. So they can see exactly what the RN's doing. And he came to me after about a week of work, and he said, I don't want to be a nurse anymore. And I said, why not? And he said, I've been working for like a week in the hospital alongside the nurses, and I see how hard they work. They work in 12 hours, literally. He said, this one nurse I work with doesn't get a chance to even like sit down and have like a lunch. They just kind of like eat on the go. Basically, they just work for 12 hours and straight and go home. And he said, I just don't want to do that. Yes, the money's good. Yes, the 12-hour shift is going to go by pretty quickly. But I don't think I can do that kind of work. And I'm like, well, it's good you figured it out now. You haven't started the program. We were able to take all his prereqs and move him over to a different degree, and he's in a different program now, and he's actually in the program, and he's enjoying it, and it's a completely different direction for him. But he figured that out, long before it really was gonna derail him, and cost him a lot of time and money. And so that's the real question, is you really want to evaluate if nursing's right for you, meaning, are you really cut out to do that type of career? You cut out for the program, or you cut out for the career? Is it the are you wired for that type of, program and for that career? Is it your calling? That's really what I'm referring to here. Is that what you're quote unquote called to do? Again, it's not going to be for everybody. One other kind of final funny story is that my neighbors across the street from me where I live, they are now retired nurses, husband and wife. But I remember when they were working, and again, they worked at the local hospital, and I watched them, and they get home at kind of weird times because, again, they're working long shifts. So a lot of times they get home like in the morning, from a long shift. And again, these husband and wife are older, older meaning at the time they were probably late 50s, but I would literally watch them crawl out of their car after a shift. I mean, like crawl to the car and hobble inside. And you could just see like they had been on their feet a lot and they had worked hard. So they retired from the career though. So the career again for them was right. It was the right career. But again, it may not be for everyone. And let me leave you with a couple things. One thing is there is no job that is worth it financially if you hate it. Mark my words on that one. There is no job that you can put up with, and there's no amount of money that you're going to get that's going to be worth the money. No job that's worth the money if you absolutely hate it. So mark my words on that. So just little things to think about. Again, for the right person, it's a great career. Now I'll say one final thing. Nursing is commensurate or comparable. The actual job is, I'd say, comparable to the amount of work you have to do. In other words, I don't think a lot of people would do 12 hours a day, even though a lot of times it's 3 days a week, it's 36 hours. I don't think a lot of people do 12-hour shifts on their feet with little to no break if the money wasn't, worth it. If there wasn't a decent amount of money. So it's kind of that balance there. Yes, there has to be enough to make it worth it, but if you hate it, you're never going to do it for any amount of money. So I hope that kind of makes sense. It is worth it to the right person. That's what I'm getting at. The career is worth it, and you get paid well, but it is hard work. But there's a lot of reward in it too. You do get to help a lot of people. You get to see a lot of people, and you can really change lives because you get to see usually people at their worst. People in the hospital are usually people at their very worst, and they need a smiling face. They need somebody to give them hope, when a lot of times, let's face it, there is no hope for some of these people. Some of these people are going to get out. They're going to go back to normal life again. And some of these people aren't going to get out and go to a normal life. And actually, some of these people aren't going to get out at all. And this is their literally last stop on this earth. And so they need a person that is patient, a person that loves them, a person that cares for them, a person that gives them hope, and a person that's there for all the right reasons. So again, I hope that makes sense. Again, these talks are just for you guys, for many of you guys that are students or thinking about being students again. It's these talks are for you guys to just think about, like, am I really doing the right thing? Am I going the right path? Don't do it just because somebody told you to. Don't do it just because it sounds good. Do it because it's your calling. Do it because it's your calling in life. Because the truth is, if you do it for any other reason, you're not going to enjoy it, and you're going to wish you were doing something else. Trust me on that. I've seen it so many times, and I've seen it the most with the nursing program. So with that, again, I hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you next time. Take care.